Hi friends, welcome back. I'm Quenby Gallahan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been a therapist here in the state of California for well over a decade, about 15 years or so. And this channel, The Grateful Therapist, is all about mental health, personal growth, and counseling tips. So if you enjoy learning about those sorts of things, please be sure to subscribe. In today's video, I want to talk to you about grief counseling with children. So this video is appropriate for you if you are some type of clinician or mentor to a grieving child, or maybe you're a family member or a friend and you just want to learn more about ways to support a child who's grieving. Hopefully there's some information that's helpful for you in this video. I do have a few other videos on the channel about grief, so you may want to check those out too. This video is probably appropriate for working with kids around the ages of 5 to 11 or 12, but as always, use your judgment. So I have been a therapist for many years, and for about 10 years I worked at hospice, and eventually I coordinated the children's program there. So I worked with families, I worked with kids and teens, I ran groups, I ran grief counseling groups in the schools. So I'd consider grief counseling to be one of my areas of expertise and specialty areas. Most counselors in a graduate school program get very little or no training in grief, so it's an area where we really do have to find ways to get ourselves educated on grief and loss. In this particular video, I'm going to focus on the loss of a special person in our lives. It's very valid to have grief for other things such as pet loss or divorce or big changes, but in this particular video, I'm going to focus on people loss. So I'll be sharing tips on working with kids who are grieving the loss of a special person. That's a term we often used at hospice, calling their loved one their special person. I'm going to share some techniques and tips that I've used over the years. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments section. I read all of my comments. And as always, when I do these videos, I like to make some type of tool for us so that the information in the video combined with the worksheets will help you if you want to support a child who's grieving. All of my therapy tools are available in my Etsy shop at The Grateful Therapist. In the description section down below, you can find a link to my Etsy shop. So first and foremost, and I talk about this a lot in my other videos, the most important element in my opinion is to build a relationship with the child who's coming to you for grief support. There are many ways to do this, but I always advise therapists not to just rush right in and get right to the heart of this very vulnerable issue for kids, but to take the time to get to know the child a little bit, maybe make an art project, play a game, talk a little bit so that you become somebody that the child can trust, someone they're familiar with, and that they know with you is a safe place to talk about their loved one who died. And that brings me to another important point I want to make, is that often there are very few people in the child's life that feel comfortable talking about the death of their loved one. Many people are well-intentioned, but they get uncomfortable talking about it. Let's just call it what it is. It's a hard thing for many of us to talk about. Many of us are afraid we're going to say the wrong thing, or we're afraid we don't want to bring up their dad who died because we don't want to upset them. So as the grief counselor or a person supporting a child who's lost a loved one, one of the very most important things that you can be is somebody who can go there, somebody that can actually talk about it, somebody who says words like died and death. In grief counseling, we don't use euphemisms like passed away. We go right in and talk about it directly. And what that does is it shows the child that you are someone who is comfortable talking with them about this very hard thing that has happened in their lives. There are going to be very few people in this child's life who feel comfortable talking about the circumstances of what happened leading up to the death itself, and then the grief that follows. If you don't know, grief is just a word that describes all the thoughts and feelings we have after a loved one dies. Which is another point I'd like to make, which a lot of grief counseling is about education. Educating the child and their family about what is normal, healthy grief. That it is normal and healthy to have lots of different changing thoughts and feelings after a loved one dies. I also think about my role as a therapist and a grief counselor in this situation is I'm helping the child to remember their loved ones and solidify their memories. There's lots of ways we can help them do that. My worksheets will definitely guide us in that. I'm also helping them talk about their thoughts and feelings, especially the difficult thoughts and feelings that many people experience after a loved one dies. And finally, I'm helping them to honor or memorialize the person who has died. So why don't we start with helping them remember, helping them build memories. A big fear that grieving people have is often they're going to forget. They'll often say that they're afraid that they're going to forget. They're going to forget their loved one. So they'll offer education that let's help build and strengthen those memories. One of the ways we build and strengthen memories is by saying them out loud and talking about them, writing about them, making art about them. One of the worksheets I have here is all about my special person, and it asks things like what was their favorite food, how old were they, what did they like to do? And that is helping them really anchor these important memories in their mind. Another worksheet is about drawing one of your favorite memories with your special person. By them drawing it and you being able to ask questions and draw them out and talk to them about that, that helps them keep their precious memories close. Another way is that you could invite the child to bring in some photos, some photographs of their special person and share those. And as a counselor, you get to be extremely curious. You get to really care and be curious and ask, like, oh, tell me more about that picture. Oh, what were you doing there? Oh, you look so happy in this photo. Your special person, your dad who died, had long hair in this photo, but in this one he doesn't. Just draw them out, be curious, be someone who cares, and help them remember their special person. Now, I do want to add that each person's experience of loss is very different, and it depends on many things, such as what their relationship was like with that person. Sometimes the child you're helping didn't have a perfect or even a good or great relationship with the person who died, so you're helping them process harder memories, sadder memories, or what it is that they wish they had with this person that they don't. So it's not always happy, beautiful, lovely memories, and that's part of our job too, is to help them talk about the whole range of experiences that they may have had with this person. I always want to help the child express their feelings about this loss. And you might be surprised at the different range of feelings a child can have. Most people just think of sad. You know, that your special person died and you feel sad. And of course that is true, but there's a whole wide range of feelings that can be extremely confusing for the client. And it's wonderful if we can be a person who understands that and can help them talk about all the different feelings they have. One of the worksheets I have here is just a feelings worksheet, and it's got a list of all different feelings: worried, disappointed, annoyed, lonely. And they can circle the different feelings that they've had, and that's a real opportunity for you as someone who's helping this child to talk to them about all the different types of feelings and to be somebody who can talk about some of what I'd call the harder feelings of grief. Many people are comfortable if your loved one has died and you feel sad. That's pretty much what most people are comfortable with. But there's a whole range of other feelings. Oftentimes people feel angry. And in our society, it can be kind of frowned upon to be angry at a person who's died. Not a lot of people would understand that. But there's a lot of reasons people feel angry. Some people feel as though the person died and abandoned them. Sometimes they feel like they were angry at them over certain things and they never got to express that to the person when they were alive. So I normalize all these different feelings. I have a lot of compassion and empathy for these feelings. And that's what the client needs to feel from you, just that acceptance of all feelings are okay. And I'm here to talk to you about whatever those different feelings are. They don't always make a ton of sense. You'll often hear a grieving person say, I feel angry and I know I shouldn't. How could I be angry at him when he's died? And I say, a lot of people feel anger, and that's okay. It's just a feeling. Let's just talk about it. So some of the feelings you'll want to make sure you get around to eventually in grief counseling as time goes on and you build that relationship and you're comfortable is you do want to talk about anger and you want to talk about regret. The feelings that are hard to talk about with other people in other places. This sheet is called When I Feel the Hard Feelings of Grief, How Can I Help Myself? So this is giving a child some coping skills. We're identifying someone that helps you feel safe and loved and things that you can do to feel better, and what kind of things you can say to yourself to feel better. So we're giving we want to give our child client, even though they're young, some tools to express themselves and to tools that are going to help them through their grief. I talked at the beginning of the video about honoring and memorializing. So when I've done grief therapy with someone for a while, we've built a relationship, we've remembered their special person, we've helped them talk about all the different thoughts and feelings that they've had in their grieving process. I do also want to help them honor and memorialize. So there's so many different types of projects that you can do with a client, art projects, photo books, memory books. I've made prayer flags with families, just a way to honor the person who's died and make a project in their memory can be a really healing thing that clients like. So that might be something that you try with some of the kids in your life that you're trying to support through their grief. Hey friends, that's just a few things to consider if you're supporting in some way a child who is grieving. I feel like this video could have gone on and on. I have so many different thoughts to share with you, but I'd like to keep it manageable for you. Please leave me a comment. Be sure you're subscribed and you hit the like button on the way out, and I'll see you friends in my next video. Thanks so much.